you there. Good morning. This is Miss Alafia. I am in my classroom at Love Grove and I am recording for you another lesson. This time we are going to be learning all about value. I bet you can't really see that from far away, so let me come up closer. Value. Isn't that so strange? You know, I used the same exact colored pencil in order to make this really dark color and this really light color. Value talks all about how light or dark your color is in your painting. Now, there are lots of great examples of value being used. I bet you've even made something with a variety of values yourself. Value is so important because it helps us define our shadows and it helps us define, well, all kinds of things in our artwork. For example, here's this beautiful, gorgeous print of South Wind and Clear Sky from 36 Views of Mount Fuji by Katsushika Hokusai. Hokusai was a great Japanese print artist who drew and printed so many different views of Mount Fuji. He also is famous for the great wave scene. Hold on just a second, I can show you that one too. I have a poster in here, so it's a little wrinkled up. How many of you have seen this before? Have you seen the emoji of it? I bet you have. Now, in here, there are light colors and there are darker colors. And the amazing thing about doing this with print is that even though he had all of the lines on a separate piece so that he could stamp it onto something, he had to paint the colors on for every single print that he made. So every single one, he really had to pay attention to all of the different values. Even the value in the sky here is quite different. Down here, there's a dark value, and up here, the value becomes lighter. So you can see the sky is darker. Further off in the horizon, there's Mount Fuji, and it's lighter up here. There are different values of blue in the waves. All kinds of different values exist in this painting, as well as in this one. Can you see the lightest value? It's the white here, where those clouds are, and where the snow is on top of the mountain. There's a dark value right next to that snow, and then we turn into a nice bright red, a darker value than white for sure, and then a deeper brown color here, a darker value. Then we see that the value gets lighter at the base of the mountain and into the forest. And the forest is made up of all of these dark little shapes, these little trees. And those have a dark value. Even the sky in the background has a dark blue value at the top and a lighter blue value in between. That's how artists use value to create contrast in our work. Contrast means the difference between light and dark when they're close together. So can you see how that really makes the white pop because it's next to a really dark value? That's something that we artists always pay attention to when we are creating our very own artwork. We pay attention to so many things that it's incredible how much work artists really put into every last piece of art that we create, and how much thought we put into it as well. So while we're here together, let's learn how to make a nice value reference sheet like the one I have here. Can you see it? It might be a good idea to pause the video and copy down the way I have this structured out. Here I have written value. Right here, I've written how light or dark a color is. Can you see that? The camera might be reversing it, so it's hard to read. But maybe we can find a way to mirror it and reverse it back so that you can see this. Or I'll post a picture of it on Teams as well so you'll be able to copy down all of the words if you have trouble. Now I have boxes here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. Now the box all the way on this side is a super dark value. And then the box all the way at this side is a super light value. I went as light as I could with my colored pencil and tried so hard to make just the lightest, most whisper of a color with my pencil. And in between, I go from dark to light. So this one is a little bit lighter than this, a lighter value. This one is a little lighter than the last, a lighter value. And next is a lighter value than the last one. And last but not least, the lightest I can go. See if you can get a variety of different values using the same tool. You can create value by using round circular shapes when you color. I'll show you guys an example of making a sheet like this in just a moment. So for now, just take a look at it and then we'll create it together, okay? The next one is putting small lines close together or far apart. You see here where it's a darker value, I have lots and lots of little lines, hundreds of them maybe. And when I get a little bit lighter, when my value gets lighter, you can start to see the space between all of my little hatch lines. That's what they're called, hatching, hatch lines. Just like when you hatch an egg and you get a little tiny duck or you get a little tiny something special. So just like that, we are hatching with our lines. Now another way you could do it is by cross hatching, which is just like creating your crossing lines, like how we did in our line lessons. But this time you're going to pay attention to how close and how far away and how much pressure you put on your pencil in order to make light and dark. Oh, that's the bell again. So you can cross your lines to make dark values and light values. Another way that artists use is by stippling, and that's by drawing little itty bitty circles. And the closer you put them together, the darker your value is, and the further apart you put them, the lighter your value is. You can use value to create shadows on forms, add depth, which is the sense of how far away and how close something is, how deep it looks, add depth and contrast to a composition. And we talked about contrast is when you have something really light next to something really dark, how it makes both of them pop out and you can really see them. So now that you've had a nice close look at this, let's try and make it together. I am just going to turn my page around and I'm going to use a different color. So here's my page here. Now there are several ways. I'm trying to get a good angle here where I'm close enough that you can see me and close enough and far away enough that you can see me and everything else I have for you. So if I keep moving around, I'm sorry if that's a little awkward. But here we go. So we're going to make our boxes. You're just going to use your very best lines here to draw a nice rectangle shape. You see my rectangle? And you're going to divide that up by drawing some vertical lines that go up and down throughout your rectangle here. You're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical lines, and that's going to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So now you've got all 5 boxes here, and what we are going to do is we are going to color them in. I'm going to start off with, maybe if I sit in a little chair. Aha! I figured it out. We're going to start off by making this as dark as we can. Now I like to use these little circular motions when I color. I don't know how well you can see how I'm doing it. There we go. Maybe at that angle it's better. And that helps make everything nice and even. It's a good idea to color in this way if you're concerned about your craftsmanship. So when we do our projects and I say, pay close attention to your craftsmanship, are we gonna scribble scrabble? No way. No scribble scrabbling with Miss Alafia. I want to see you use your very best coloring techniques. So coloring in with small circles like this is a good way to go. And yes, it is going to tire out your hands if you want some really deep, intense color like this. So be aware that you only need to color this deeply with this much pressure if you want a really dark value. So it takes some time too. So art takes a lot of time and a lot of skills and a lot of thought. And it's all about making your own decisions. Where do you want for the dark values to be? Where do you want for the light values to be? What kind of lines do you want to use? What kind of colors are going to express what you want your art to say? What kind of shapes are going to really speak to the people that are viewing your art? And what kind of shapes really speak to you? Why are you using the shapes that you're using? The colors you're using, the lines, the values that you're using? Those are the kinds of things that artists think about. I think about that when I make my own art. And it seems like a lot to think about, but it's how we make things that really have impact and that people really enjoy. And art is so important because people need to be able to see beautiful things and have beautiful things in order to be comfortable and happy in life, I think. I think beauty is important to the human spirit. And so making things that are beautiful is really an important task, and it's something that everyone can do because everyone has different ideas of what's beautiful, and sometimes we agree and we see other people's art and we think, I never saw things that way, and I think that's beautiful. And that's a very valuable experience to have. So after I colored in my darkest value here on this side, I am going to, on this side, go just as light as I can. Now I have this cool little color stick, but if you have a crayon, you can do the same thing. Oh, another bell. You can just drag that across, back and forth, and create a really light value with your color. Oops, I dropped it, that's okay. See how that's just super light, but it's also solidly filled in? You can also do this in a circular motion in order to make sure that there's no directional lines if you want it to just look like color. So now we have our darkest value here and our lightest value here. And I fixed my rectangle a little bit. So next to this, we want something that's still dark, but not as dark. So let me just color it in normally. I'm using an oval motion. It's like a wide circle to color things in. So if I slow down, you can see I'm going around and around. Around and around I go. And where do I stop? Nobody knows. I'm just kidding. You know where I'm gonna stop, right? I'm gonna stop right here. So this is pretty dark. It's a lot darker than this one, but I think it could still use some more value. So I'm gonna put in another layer of color here to make it have a darker, deeper value than the last one. When we do this all in one color, it's called a monochromatic color scheme. Did you guys know that? I bet some of you did. You're all so smart. You guys shock me every day with how smart you are. You know everything. So it's really interesting, not only for you to learn from me, but for me to learn from you. I love it when you guys tell me stuff, because I like to learn, and I hope you like to learn as well, because learning is something that you never stop doing in your life. You can learn about art forever and ever. There's so much to know. You can learn about animals and people. You can learn about science and math. There's so much to know. You can learn about English and reading and language arts, and you can learn other languages. There's so much to know in this world. You can learn about nature. It's so much fun. I really think learning is special. So now this looks a little bit closer to this in value, right? But it's not quite as dark. So I think that's gonna be how dark I want that one to be. Now let's do one that's a little bit darker than this lightest one, but not too dark. So let's start off doing the same thing. We're gonna go ahead and rub our color in. And then I'm going to go over it with hardly any pressure at all from my hand. And I'm gonna try and make this a deeper value than the lightest one possible. There we go. Okay. What do we think? This is pretty light, and this is a little bit darker. This one is dark, and this is the darkest. So now we need something to go in between. So it needs to be darker than this one, but lighter than this one. Let's see if we can achieve something like that. So we start by adding in our color. Let's make it about the same color as this one here. Let's see if we can make it that same value and then add a little bit more darkness to it. It takes a lot of thinking and practice to try and achieve something like this, even though it's just for reference. And it's really valuable to get that practice in. There we go. So now these two seem like they're about the same value, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this one here just a little bit darker, but not as dark as this next one. Ooh, do you think we can do it? Let's give it a try. We might have to darken the one next to it, because maybe there's another value in between this one and the darkest. Let's see. Yeah, now this one looks really similar to that one. So I think we have to make this one just a little bit darker. Can you see very clearly how it goes from light to a little dark? And then these two are about the same value. And this one is the darkest. Let's try making this one a little darker here by going over it one more time. I want to see a really nice value scale. You guys know about scales, right? Like in music, I bet you learn about musical scales. Well, this is called a value scale because it gives you all of the different values you can get one at a time, right? Okay. Here we go. Making this one darker was a good choice. It was a good decision on my part because now it's easy to see that we have really dark, a little lighter, lighter again, light, and the lightest of all. So check out my value chart there. Now there are some different ways that you can make your value. So I want you guys to practice this as well, okay? One good way to create value is to draw in a circular motion.
Elementary. Please tune in for your morning announcements. On Channel 3 and have a great day.
It's nice to hear good morning and have a great day every day, don't you think? So we are going to use these small circular motions when we are drawing and coloring in to create value. I'm going to come up really close so you can see how my hand is moving, okay? Watch how I am coloring in. I've got, let's say I have a circle here. And I'm going to color in this whole circle by using these small circular motions with my hand. Again, this is about creating nice craftsmanship when we color and when we attempt to add value. And then, depending on how much you put in one place or how hard you press when you're coloring in one place, you get deeper, darker value. It's just like drawing in shadows and light, because when you have really light values, it makes it look like a highlight. And when you have really dark values, it makes it look like a shadow. Yeah? So there is one method that you can use to color things in a nice way that pays lots of attention to your craftsmanship. Another way you can color things in, let's say we have another circle here, is by hatching. Remember those little lines? So I like to hatch all in one direction, but some people do it in different directions and it looks really cool. There are my lines here, and where I want to have deeper value, I'm going to put more lines in. Now these you can do really quick. You want these lines to go in the same direction. See how now that's got a darker value? Or you want your hatch lines to go in the direction, or sometimes I curve them because let's say that I want this circle to be a sphere, a curved shape. So now I want my hatching lines to match the direction of the item that I'm drawing. I know it's a lot to take in, but try and practice it. See how now this side looks darker and more shadowed than this side? And the rest of it, I'm going to draw more hatch lines going in this direction. And this kind of becomes cross-hatching now because I have my lines crossing each other in two different directions. And over here, I have that really nice dark shadow. And over here, it's very light. I can even make it look lighter by adding in a mid-tone between my shadow and my highlight. Check that out. So I have 3 different values here. 3 values, a shadow, a mid-tone, and a highlight, really help make your things look nice and 3D. So that is the little circular coloring in method. This is our way of hatching and cross-hatching. And there's another method. Now this one takes forever. So it's not my favorite to do, but some artists are so successful at it. And I can show you an example of a painting that was made all with stipples. So to create stipples, you are going to just poke your little coloring mechanism here onto your paper. I like to do it in that same circular pattern and motion. Poke, 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 poke. Maybe you can see it better if I do from the side to side. There we go. Poke, 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 all the way around. And you want to do it lightly and close to your paper. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing that, and that's kind of loud. It's also doesn't give you a lot of control, and you want as much control over your artwork as you can get, because that is how you put all of your thoughts and intentions into your work, by being able to control exactly what you are doing and have intention and thought behind it, behind every single mark that you make. And so if you're stippling, you are creating value by putting in little bitty dots. I can't fill in the whole circle because it'll take me a year, right? It'll take so long. But I'd love to see it if you want to spend time stippling and trying, if that's what speaks to you and what you like to do. I'd love to see your example of stippling too. So there are some examples of value. I hope you guys enjoyed learning all about value. And I will post the second part of this lesson tomorrow, okay? Or later today, whenever I'm able to film it. So there you go. You have your nice reference sheet for value, where you're going to try out different techniques and create a value scale. And here you have all of that written information. So I'm going to post these pictures for you guys. And good luck in creating your own value scale. Now, if you don't have paper and pencil at home to do this, you can use any color at all, or anything. If you have paint, you can use paint. Again, if you have marker, you can try using marker, though it's hard to get different values with markers. So colored pencils or crayons or paint is recommended, really. But if you do not have value, maybe, or if you do not have something to color with at home, maybe you can try and create value on autodraw.com by selecting the colors that are in between the other ones in terms of their value. And I would love to see you do that, as well as create some of these different mark making methods to put value in. So it's wonderful to see you all. I hope you had a good time learning about value. And remember, because this is a recorded video, you can pause it whenever you need to and spend time creating your value color chart. And then when you're all done with that, you can film a Flipgrid video and show me what you created for your value reference sheet. And I will be so happy to see that. Thank you so much for coming to class today, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye. Mwah. Love you guys.